My precious soul, something urgent is moving in the unseen realm right now. And Archangel Michael has pressed this message into your spirit because the hour is sensitive. The atmosphere is shifting, and your name has just been spoken in the courts of heaven. There is a reason you felt drawn to this message. There is a reason your heart feels like it is on the edge of a revelation. There is a reason your spirit is vibrating right now, even if you cannot explain it, because for a long time, Archangel Michael has been restraining something you were never meant to battle alone. He has been holding back a financial attack that was designed to suffocate you, confuse you, and delay your destiny. He has been standing at the gates of your provision with his sword of divine fire, blocking a strike that was meant to break your hope. But now, listen carefully. There is a signal, a sign, a sacred alert ringing in the heavens, and if you ignore it, the hand he has been holding back may be allowed to touch what belongs to you. This is not to scare you. This is to awaken you, because you have entered a turning point. Archangel Michael wants you to understand why you have been feeling sudden pressure around money, why unexpected bills came out of nowhere, why certain plans collapsed at the last second, why resources you were counting on seem to be delayed, withheld, or rearranged. It was not random. It was not coincidence. It was not misfortune. It was spiritual turbulence created by an enemy who wanted to reach into your finances long before today, but could not because Archangel Michael stood in the way. You survived what you didn't even know was coming. You overcame what you couldn't see. You were protected from what was aimed directly at you. But hear this. There is a moment when heaven tries to get your attention because something is moving. Something is changing. Something is about to be exposed, and that moment is now. You may have noticed patterns these past few days. Moments where you felt drained. Moments where you sensed something shifting. Moments where you suddenly felt cautious without knowing why. Those were not emotional dips. Those were signals. Heaven always sends a soft whisper before life sends a loud correction. Archangel Michael is showing you that your finances are entering a prophetic window, a moment where breakthrough becomes possible. But vulnerability also increases. He has been blocking the enemy's hand for months, even years. But he cannot continue to stand against it if you step out of alignment with the divine instruction being released to you. That's why he is speaking now. That's why this message feels different. That's why your soul is leaning in, because the next move is yours. Your obedience activates your protection. Your awareness strengthens your covering. Your readiness keeps the barrier in place. Archangel Michael is not warning you of an attack. He is preparing you for release. Your finances are about to shift. But heaven needs your spirit awake enough to receive, respond, and rise. Something big is coming. Something connected to your purpose. Something connected to your stability. Something connected to the next chapter of your life. This message is not random. You were drawn here because the heavens are trying to show you the difference between fear and discernment, between delay and divine timing, between spiritual warfare and spiritual positioning. And right here, right now, your positioning is everything. There is a divine instruction coming in the next words, and missing it could remove the shield that has been guarding your resources. So take a breath, stay present, and let your spirit remain open, because the revelation that follows is the one Archangel Michael has been trying to deliver to you for weeks. Before you move, before you scroll, Before you dismiss this moment, this is where it begins to unfold. Type "I receive the shield of provision" in the comments if this is awakening something inside you. Blessing code 1444 is now active over your finances. Hold on. What comes next will shake your spirit in the best possible way. My chosen heart. There is a quiet tremble in the spiritual atmosphere around you right now. And Archangel Michael is urging you to lean in closer, because what you are about to hear will explain why your financial life has felt like a battlefield you never agreed to fight on. The truth is, you have been moving through a season where invisible forces have been trying to drain you before you even reached the doorway of your next blessing. But every time the enemy's hands stretched toward your resources, something powerful stood between you and the attack. The shield of Archangel Michael, glowing like a wall of heavenly fire, absorbing impacts you could not see, deflecting weapons you did not even know were formed. But now, the heavens are revealing a mystery. The reason this message found you is because the divine protection around your finances is entering a delicate threshold. You are being asked to listen with understanding, not with fear. You are being called to awaken, not panic. For too long, the enemy has hoped that you would remain unaware of what was happening in the spiritual dimension. If you stayed distracted, if you remained spiritually numb, if you misinterpreted the signs around you, he believed the barrier guarding your finances would weaken. But Archangel Michael has interrupted that plan by bringing you into clarity today. You may have noticed it. Moments where your mind suddenly raced about money without reason. Moments of hesitation when making simple decisions. Moments of his experiences were not signs of lack. They were signs of pressure in the supernatural realm. When spiritual pressure increases, the soul interprets it as confusion, fear, or uncertainty. But Michael wants you to understand that these sensations were warnings, hints, subtle alerts that something was trying to shift, not to harm you, but to prepare you. There is an ancient principle in the spiritual world. What the enemy cannot touch directly, he tries to influence indirectly. If he could not steal your money physically, he tried to steal your peace emotionally. If he could not buck the blessing, he tried to block your confidence. If he could not remove the provision, he tried to convince you it was slipping. And yet you are still standing. You are still breathing. You are still moving forward. That alone is proof that heaven had been fighting for your finances long before you were aware. But now the heavens require your participation. Archangel Michael can hold back the enemy's hand, but your choices determine whether the shield remains strong or becomes vulnerable. You are entering a time where your awareness is your armor. Your obedience is your key. Your sensitivity to divine signals is your lifeline. And one of those signals is about to be revealed to you. There is a financial door opening. Not because you worked harder, not because you planned it, not because you forced it, but because heaven has aligned it. A shift is coming to your resources, but the enemy senses it. 2. When breakthrough approaches, warfare often intensifies. This is why your recent days have felt unusual, heavy, unpredictable. This is why small inconveniences felt larger than they should have. It was not the universe collapsing around you. It was the spiritual tension of something new pressing into your life. Michael wants you to understand the strategy so you are not caught unaware. The enemy tries to attack right before the blessing arrives. He tries to exhaust you right before the miracle manifests. He tries to distract you right before divine instruction is spoken. But when you recognize the pattern, it loses its power. You begin to see through the confusion, through the noise, through the emotional fog. You begin to walk with clarity, and clarity strengthens your spiritual shield. Here is also something important you need to know. The feeling that something is shifting is accurate. You are not imagining it. You are not overthinking it. You are not reading too deeply into the signs. Heaven is allowing you to sense the movement because your next steps matter. You are being prepared to receive a form of provision, opportunity, or financial alignment that has been delayed for far too long. Your spirit knows change is coming before your eyes. See it. Michael sees the attacks forming before they reach you. He sees the whispers sent to discourage you. He sees the traps designed to pressure you into wrong decisions. But he also sees the blessing prepared for your next season. He sees the stability, the restoration, the unexpected provision that has already been marked with your name. And that is why he is stepping forward with urgency today. Because ignoring this signal would allow the enemy access to a place he has not been able to touch. You are at a spiritual crossroads. One direction leads to confusion, reacting out of fear, falling into the old patterns that once drained your finances. The other direction leads to awakening, alignment, protection, and a new level of divine provision. Heaven is giving you the chance to choose wisely, and the message that follows will show you exactly how. Stay close. Now, what is revealed next is not just knowledge, it is a divine key. A blueprint meant to keep your finances shielded while positioning you for the breakthrough already moving toward you. Before you move on, take a breath and let your heart settle. Because the next revelation will unlock the spiritual meaning behind the signal Michael has been trying to show you for weeks. Type, "I stand under heaven's shield" in the comments to claim this message into your spirit. Blessing code 5,255 is now activated over your financial path. My awakened spirit. There is a stirring around you right now. A divine movement in the air that feels almost impossible to describe with human language. Archangel Michael is standing closer than before, not in silence, but in deep vigilance. His presence is firm, steady, and filled with a clarity that is being poured straight into your soul. What you are feeling right now is not coincidence. It is alignment. Something in the unseen realm is shifting, and this shift is connected directly to your finances, your stability, your future, and the divine blueprint written over your life long before you took your first breath. Listen closely now. Archangel Michael is showing you the spiritual cause behind the signal you have been sensing. The pressure you felt around money recently was not a sign that things were collapsing. It was a sign that something was trying to access a door heaven never permitted to be opened. Michael has been guarding that door with unwavering strength. But the battle has intensified because your financial season is about to change. You are not standing in lack. You are standing in transition. And transition always awakens the enemy. But here is the deeper truth. The enemy does not increase resistance unless he sees a blessing nearing your life. He reacts to movement. He responds to divine acceleration. When heaven begins to position you for increase, the enemy attempts to send distractions, delays, and emotional turbulence to push you out of alignment. That is why the timing of this message is so critical. Michael is urging you not just to hear these words, but to absorb them. You are being prepared for a financial release that has been held back for a long time, not because heaven denied it, but because the timing had to be protected. The signal Michael wants you to pay attention to is subtle yet powerful. It appears as patterns, moments where you suddenly feel a strange resistance when making a financial choice, sudden heaviness in your chest before spending, or a repeated feeling that something is pulling your attention toward a specific responsibility you have been delaying. These are not random. They are warnings. They are spiritual nudges meant to guide you. They are signs that heaven is trying to position you correctly so that the enemy does not gain permission to interfere. You have entered a prophetic zone where your spiritual sensitivity matters more than your logic. Your discernment matters more than your calculations. Your alignment matters more than your plans. And this is where the revelation becomes crucial. Archangel Michael has been protecting you from a financial collapse that was meant to strike during a moment of vulnerability. The enemy thought he could reach into your finances by overwhelming your emotions, creating missteps, and pushing you into decisions made out of fear. But Michael blocked it. He stood between you and the trap. He absorbed the strike you never felt. Yet now heaven requires your cooperation. The shield is strong, but it responds to your obedience. The barrier is powerful, but it reacts to your alignment. If you ignore the signal heaven is giving you, the protection may weaken. Not because Michael steps back willingly, but because spiritual law requires harmony between heaven and your choices. Right now, you must anchor your spirit. You must steady your heart. You must become aware of where you are being pulled, where you are being prompted, and what decisions feel spiritually heavy versus spiritually peaceful. This awareness is your shield. The next shift in your finances will not come through fear or worry. It will come through clarity, and heaven is giving you that clarity today. What is approaching your life is not ordinary. It is not minor. It is not another subtle change. It is a financial repositioning, a redirection of resources, an unlocking of provision that has been waiting for you to reach this moment of spiritual maturity. Michael is showing you that the enemy hath been trying to plant seeds of doubt in your mind, quiet whispers of discouragement, subtle feelings of unworthiness, or sudden impulses to give up. These thoughts were never yours. They were projections, and they were sent to weaken the barrier around your financial path. But now that you see the tactic loses power. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. And that is why this message carries such urgency. Heaven is not warning you to create fear. Heaven is preparing you so the barrier around your life remains intact. What comes next requires your attention, your obedience, and your willingness to follow divine instruction. And before you move forward, pause for a moment. Let this truth settle into your chest. What you are stepping into is sacred. What you are hearing is not accidental. You are being realigned, reawakened, and reinforced for the chapter ahead. If this message is speaking to you, stay connected, because the next revelation will expose the exact strategy the enemy has been using against your finances, and how Michael is shifting the atmosphere to restore what is yours. Like this message, share it with someone who needs this confirmation. Comment your agreement and make sure you subscribe so you do not miss the next prophetic release. You are being positioned, and you must stay in the flow. Type "I walk in divine alignment" in the comments if this truth is settling into your spirit. Blessing code 999 is now released over your financial destiny. Just as Archangel Michael hath been shielding your finances from the enemy's hand, this mission is about shielding souls from spiritual blindness. When you support this channel, you are not giving to a platform. You are sowing into a living move of God that reaches people right when they need it most. Scripture says that those who sow in faith will reap a harvest, and right now that promise is alive. Speaking, breathing over every person who stands with this calling. I want you to hear my heart when I say this. I feel led to invite you personally into this moment. The very message about protection and breakthrough extends into the impact you help create. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you activate a prophetic seed that heaven multiplies. I speak blessing, covering, and divine increase over every giver who responds in faith. Step into this with boldness. Let your support be a declaration of obedience and purpose. My steadfast soul, there is a sacred quietness surrounding you in this moment. A stillness that is not empty, but filled with divine activity. Archangel Michael is urging you to become aware of what is unfolding behind the veil, because your financial path is being reorganized, repositioned, and spiritually recalibrated in ways you cannot yet see with your natural eyes. What you feel right now is not uncertainty. It is transition. And transition often sounds like silence. Even though heaven is working with intensity, Michael wants you to understand something deeply important. Every financial struggle you have walked through in the recent season was not a sign of failure or punishment. It was a sign that something was trying to reach you and could not. You have been preserved more times than you know. You have been defended against attacks that were designed to hit you at your weakest point. You have been shielded from decisions that could have derailed your future. And all of this was happening under the watch of Archangel Michael, who stood between you and the enemy's intention. But what heaven is revealing now is the reason the enemy targeted your finances in the first place. It was not about money. It was about momentum. An inheritor creates emotional pair. Emotional pressure creates spiritual distraction. Spiritual distraction leads to misalignment. When you are misaligned, the enemy gains permission to interfere with blessings that were already released in the spirit realm. This is why the fight around your finances felt so heavy. It was never about the amount. It was about your focus, your clarity, and your spiritual positioning. Michael is now showing you the deeper layer of the signal you have been sensing. You may have noticed moments where unexpected expenses appeared. Moments where opportunities slipped through your hands. Moments where people you depended on became unreliable. Or moments where plans seemed promising and then collapsed at the last second. These were not coincidences, they were spiritual tremors. Indications that the enemy was trying to break your stability. But every time the enemy reached, the hand was forced back by heaven's command. Still, there is something essential you must understand. Protection remains strong only when awareness increases. The barrier over your finances is powerful, but it reacts to the choices you make, the emotions you feed, and the alignment you maintain. This is why Michael has been trying to get your attention. He needs you spiritually awake, mentally grounded, and emotionally centered. You cannot afford to be careless with your decisions in this season because the enemy is searching for access points. But do not let this bring fear. Let it bring awareness, because this is where the revelation becomes powerful. The enemy only fights what he fears. He fears the blessing on its way to you. He fears the breakthrough forming around your finances. He fears the divine realignment that is preparing to shift you out of survival mode and into stability. He fears the elevation heaven has ordained for you. And it is that very elevation that has triggered this attempt to weaken the protective barrier around your resources. Michael is now placing a spiritual mirror before you. He wants you to look closely at where your energy has been drained, where your confidence has been shaken, and where your hope has felt fragile. These areas reveal the exact point where the enemy attempted to pressure you. But here is the powerful truth. If the enemy truly had access, you would not be reading this message right now. You would not be standing in this moment of clarity. You would not be receiving divine instruction. The very fact that you are here is proof that you have not been defeated. There is a financial blessing forming behind the scenes. Something that has been delayed but not denied. Heaven has been aligning people, opportunities, timing, and circumstances to come together in a way that brings restoration to your finances. But alignment requires your cooperation. That is why this message is so important. Heaven is inviting you to remain in the right posture so the blessing can reach you without obstruction. Michael wants you to pay attention to the subtle spiritual instructions rising within you. If you feel a sudden urge to clean your financial environment, pay attention. If you feel drawn to organize, simplify, or release certain expenses, pay attention. If you sense caution around specific decisions, pay attention. These are not random thoughts. They are divine impulses. Heaven communicates through nudges, and those nudges shape your path. You are being prepared for a financial elevation that requires a new level of spiritual clarity. Heaven is not asking you to carry this alone. Michael is standing with you. Angels have been dispatched around you. You are surrounded by divine help. But this time, heaven needs your sensitivity. You cannot overlook the signs. You cannot ignore the signal. You cannot brush off the inner warnings as random thoughts. What you feel is real. What you sense is divine. What you are hearing is instruction. Your financial future is not fragile. It is fortified, is protected. It is being shaped by heaven's hand. But you must stay in alignment. You must stay connected. You must stay spiritually awake. Take a moment now. Let this truth settle into your spirit like warm light, because the revelation that is coming next will expose the root of the enemy's strategy and show you the exact moment your breakthrough began. Type I, align with divine instruction in the comments if this message resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 377 is now activated over your financial pathway. My resilient spirit. There is a deep unveiling happening around you, a quiet spiritual unfolding that has been building for months, even years. And Archangel Michael is guiding you to recognize the exact moment when the enemy's strategy against your finances began to fracture. This truth will not only bring clarity, it will bring liberation. For so long, you believe that your financial struggles came from earthly circumstances, unexpected bills, unreliable people, unstable opportunities, or seasons of delay. But Michael is showing you now that those were symptoms, not the source. The real battle was happening beneath the surface. And the moment it shifted is the moment heaven stepped into the situation with authority. Michael wants you to understand what changed. There was a day recently, maybe you did not even notice it, when something inside you refused to break. You felt pressure. You felt uncertainty. You felt confusion. But instead of collapsing, you kept moving. You kept believing. You kept holding on even when you had no evidence. That moment of endurance became your turning point. Heaven responds not to perfection but to persistence. And when heaven sees you persist, the atmosphere shifts. Angels are released. Barriers are strengthened. Walls the enemy tries to climb suddenly rise higher. This is why the enemy became aggressive. He sensed the shift before you did. He saw the reinforcement. He saw the strengthening of your spirit. He saw the resilience taking root in your soul. And when he saw that you were stepping into a new level of spiritual authority, he attempted to strike your finances one last time, hoping that pressure would make you retreat. But Archangel Michael intervened in the spiritual realm. His sword came down between you and the attack. He blocked what was meant to hid your resources. He neutralized what was meant to drain you, and he held back a strike that would have affected not just your money, but your peace, your stability, and your future. This is why you have felt the intensity lately. When protection increases, pressure often rises because the enemy becomes desperate. He knows he is running out of access points. He knows the window is closing. He knows your breakthrough is near. And when a breakthrough approaches, the enemy tries to disguise it as chaos. He tries to make you believe things are getting worse, when in truth, they are coming into alignment. Michael is now revealing the root of the enemy strategy. The enemy targeted your finances because your finances are connected to your calling. There are things you are meant to build, places you are meant to go, people you are meant to bless, and responsibilities you are meant to fulfill. Financial attack is not just about money. It is about movement. If the enemy can delay your finances, he can delay your destiny. If he can distract you with worry, he can interrupt your clarity. If he can pressure you emotionally, he can misalign your spiritual posture. But once heaven stepped in, the strategy cracked. The moment your spirit grew stronger, the enemy lost his grip. The moment you refused to collapse, the shield around you intensified. The moment you chose faith over fear, even in silence, Michael moved. You may not have prayed loudly, you may not have shouted, you may not have spoken any special words, but heaven hears the shift inside a person's spirit long before it hears the words of their mouth. And your shift was loud in the spirit realm. You must understand that you are not weak. You are not vulnerable. You are not spiritually unprotected. You are in a moment where heaven has taken notice of your endurance. And now you are being positioned for the next phase of divine protection and financial restoration. But Michael is warning you gently. Do not overlook the signals. When you feel sudden resistance around a financial choice, pause. When something feels off, pay attention. When a door closes unexpectedly, trust the redirection. These moments are not inconveniences. They are spiritual guidance. Michael is aligning you to the right path because the next chapter requires precision. Heaven is preparing something that must reach you at the perfect moment, and any misalignment could create unnecessary delays. This is why you have been sensing unusual sensations, inner tension, sudden clarity, unexpected caution, or moments of spiritual heaviness followed by peace. Heaven communicates through patterns, and those patterns are leading you toward your breakthrough. Your finances are not at risk. They are being rearranged. Heaven is not warning you of loss. Heaven is preparing you for order. You are not standing on shaky ground. You are standing on sacred ground. The shaking you felt was not destruction. It was restructuring. What was unstable is being stabilized. What with OIR is becoming clear. What was delayed is approaching you with speed. Michael is showing you that the enemy's attempt has already failed. The barrier is still intact. A shield is still strong. The protection is still active. But you must stay awake spiritually. You must stay connected. You must stay sensitive. The signal you sensed was heaven saying, "Pay attention. Something important is moving, and now you are here receiving clarity, receiving revelation, receiving divine instruction. This is not by accident. Heaven is positioning you so that nothing the enemy tries will interfere with what is coming next. Let your spirit breathe. Let your heart soften. Let your awareness rise, because the revelation that follows will show you what heaven is preparing to release and how Michael is positioning you to receive it without interference. Type I remain under divine shielding in the comments if this message is settling deeply in your spirit. Blessing code 488 is now active over your financial journey. My guarded soul. There is a divine seriousness resting on this moment, a weight that does not crush, but awakens. Archangel Michael is leaning in closer, and the message flowing toward you carries the intensity of truth mixed with the gentleness of protection. You are being led deeper into the revelation of why your finances have been under pressure, why the enemy has circled your resources, and why heaven has intervened with such urgency. This is not ordinary guidance. This is not casual instruction. This is a spiritual briefing from heaven's war room. Michael wants you to see the bigger picture because the enemy's attack on your finances did not begin with your money. It began with your purpose. The enemy observed the strength rising inside you, the resilience that refused to break, the quiet faith that stayed alive even when things were uncertain, the determination that kept you moving forward. He saw the seeds of greatness awakening in your spirit, seeds heaven planted long ago. And when the enemy realized he could not stop your inner growth, he decided to target your external stability. That stability was your finances. This is why the battle felt sudden and unpredictable and did not start when your bank account dipped and started when your spirit elevated. The enemy sensed the shift before you did. He recognized that you were entering a season where clarity, purpose, and provision were aligning. And right when blessings were preparing to break through the invisible barrier that had held them back, he made a final attempt to strike at the area he believed would hurt you the most, your financial peace. But heaven did not allow it. Archangel Michael stepped in with a force that the enemy could not cross. Michael wants you to understand something critical. The barrier he has held up for you was not just a shield. It was a divine filter. Certain opportunities were blocked because they were traps. Certain people were removed because they carried hidden intentions. Certain financial pathways were rerouted because they would have drained you rather than supported you. Heaven is not just protecting your money. It is protecting your destiny. The shield Michael lifted was not meant to keep things from you. It was meant to keep the wrong things away from you. You may have felt frustration when certain financial plans dissolved. You may have felt confusion when expected outcomes fell apart. You may have felt discouraged when support you were counting on did not come through. But now, Michael is revealing that these moments were divine intersections. The enemy planned to use those very openings to infiltrate your finances. But heaven shut the door before you walked through it. What looked like disappointment was protection in disguise. Still, every shield has a purpose, and every shield requires awareness. Michael is not warning you because danger is coming. He is guiding you because blessing is approaching. And when blessing draws near, the enemy tries to mimic urgency, trying to push you into decisions fueled by fear instead of discernment. This is why you have felt the tension. This is why small financial matters felt oversized. This is why the atmosphere around money felt sensitive. Even with tightening the shield while preparing the blessing, now Michael wants to reveal the next layer. The signal you have been sensing is a divine check in your spirit. You felt it during certain conversations, during specific opportunities, or before making financial choices. That sudden hesitation was not anxiety. It was warning. That sudden peace you felt afterward was not luck. It was confirmation. Heaven has been guiding you through inner sensations, not external signs. And now that you are aware, your discernment is becoming your strongest protection. The enemy cannot access your finances unless you make a decision that opens the door. This is why heaven is speaking now, because your next step matters. You are in a season where obedience unlocks abundance and misalignment creates vulnerability. Michael is not here to frighten you. He is here to empower you. The shield remains strong, but heaven wants you to walk with awareness, so nothing weakens it. You must understand that this season of your life is sacred. You are not being led into scarcity. You are being prepared for strategic blessing. You are not being pushed into fear. You are being pulled into alignment. Heaven has watched you endure seasons of lack, pressure, and uncertainty, and now heaven is shifting the flow. Provision is beginning to reorganize itself around your name. Opportunities that were once blocked are being restored. Financial pathways that dried up are being revived. But all of this requires clarity. Michael sees what heaven has prepared: a change in your financial atmosphere, a redirection of your steps, a strengthening of your stability, and a divine repositioning meant to elevate your life. The enemy tried to interfere because he sensed the approach of this shift. What he failed, but he planned to touch, remains undone. What he attempted to weaken remains strong. What he tried to delay is now being accelerated. You are standing at the threshold of a new season, a turning point that will reshape not only your finances, but your confidence, your purpose, and your sense of divine timing. Michael is asking you to stay attuned, stay present, stay aligned. The next revelation will show you exactly what the enemy feared and exactly what heaven is preparing to release into your hands. Allow your spirit to remain open. Let peace settle into your heart. You are moving from pressure to clarity, from confusion to direction, from attack to elevation. Type, "I hold the line with heaven" in the comments if this message is awakening something deep within you. Blessing code 622 is now activated over your finances and your discernment. My illuminated soul, there is a sacred heaviness resting upon this moment. Not the kind that burdens, but the kind that signals revelation. Archangel Michael is drawing you deeper, inviting you into understanding that most people never access in their lifetime. What you are stepping into right now is not merely spiritual insight, is spiritual strategy. You are being shown not only what the enemy attempted against your finances, but why heaven has chosen this exact moment to intervene more aggressively on your behalf. Michael wants you to see the truth from heaven's perspective. The enemy has always attacked you in cycles. He waited for the moments where you felt stretched, where your hope felt thin, where your emotions felt unsettled. These moments were not accidental. The enemy studies patterns. He studies your fears. He studies your reactions. And the moment he sensed vulnerability, he attempted to push deeper into your financial atmosphere. But heaven blocked him. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. Still, the true breakthrough came when heaven noticed something shifting inside your spirit. Your awareness began to rise. Your discernment sharpened. Your spiritual senses awakened. You began to notice what once went unseen. You started questioning the things you used to accept. You began paying attention to inner signals instead of outward noise. And when this inner awakening happened, the enemy's axis instantaneously weakened. Michael stepped forward because heaven saw that you were ready for revelation, not just protection. This is where the revelation deepens. The enemy was not merely trying to drain your finances. He was trying to drain your faith in what God promised you. If he could convince you that financial struggle meant spiritual abandonment, he could break your confidence. If he could stir confusion around money, he could delay your purpose. If he could create emotional instability, he could influence your decisions. But heaven did not allow it. Michael blocked the attack before it can take root in your spirit. What you must understand is this. The enemy's last attempt against your finances failed because your spirit matured beyond the reach of his old tactics. You no longer crumble at the first sign of pressure. You no longer interpret delay as denial. You no longer assume hardship means absence. You have grown. You have shifted. You have strengthened. And this inner transformation has changed everything. Michael is showing you that the next chapter of your financial journey is not about survival. It is about alignment. Heaven is leading you into a period where you will not only receive provision but also recognize divine instruction with heightened clarity. You will not just have money. You will have direction. You will not just experience breakthroughs. You will understand their timing. You will not just walk protected. You will walk wise. But wisdom requires awareness. And this is why Michael is revealing the layer beneath the layer. The enemy was using subtle emotional exhaustion to weaken your financial decisions. The heaviness you felt, the random discouragements, the sudden doubts. These were spiritual attempts to distort your perception. The enemy wanted to make small issues feel large, temporary problems feel permanent, and simple decisions feel overwhelming. But heaven intervened, strengthening your inner compass. So the enemy's voice became faint and powerless. Now, Michael is inviting you into an understanding that very few people discern. The attacks against your finances were never about lack. They were about timing. The enemy was trying to disrupt the timing of a financial blessing heaven planned to release. If the enemy could get you to make one rush decision, one fear-based choice, one misaligned move, he could delay what heaven was preparing. This is why Michael hath been guarding you so fiercely. This is why he hath been releasing signals into your spirit. This is why you have felt an unusual sensitivity around money lately. You are being guided into a season where the timing of your decisions matters. Heaven is orchestrating a shift, a meeting, an opportunity, a connection, an unexpected open door that will bring financial elevation. The shift is closer than you realize, and the enemy, sensing its approach, attempted to interfere before it could manifest. But he failed. The barrier held. Michael's sword stood firm. Now the message deepens. Heaven is preparing you to receive something that was delayed but never denied. Something that has your name written in spiritual ink. Something that will not just bless you financially but reposition you emotionally and spiritually. You are stepping into a divine recalibration where your finances align with your calling and your calling aligns with heaven's timing. Michael wants you to know this clearly. You will not miss what heaven has ordained for you. You will not fall into the traps set to delay your future. You will not walk blindly into situations that drain you. You will not be deceived by counterfeit opportunities. You are becoming spiritually sharp. Your discernment is rising. Your awareness is strengthening. The enemy's voice is weakening. There is peace coming to your finances. There is order coming to your decisions. There is clarity coming to your direction. Heaven is not only protecting you, it is preparing you. And what happens next will reveal why the enemy fought so hard against your resources. Let your spirit pause and breathe. You are not the same person who entered this season. You are stronger. You are wiser. You are spiritually awake. Type, "I walk in heaven's timing" in the comments if your spirit is absorbing this truth. Lesson code 744 is now activated over your financial atmosphere. My advancing spirit. There is a holy intensity rising around you now. A charge in the atmosphere that feels almost electric. Archangel Michael is no longer just revealing what had been happening. He is preparing you for what is about to unfold. You are stepping into a critical turning point. A moment where your awareness, your alignment, and your spiritual posture will determine how swiftly heaven releases what has been stored for you. This part of the message carries weight because it bridges where you were with where you are going. It connects your history to your destiny, your struggle to your breakthrough, your wilderness to your promised season. Michael is showing you something few hearts ever truly grasp. Your finances have been in a spiritual tug-of-war long before you saw the symptoms in the natural realm. What you felt as unexpected lack, delays, or closed doors was actually the echo of a battle being fought over your next season. The enemy did not target your bank account randomly. He targeted the area of your life that heaven was preparing to elevate. And when elevation approaches, warfare intensifies. But here is where the revelation becomes powerful. This recent wave of pressure was not a sign of defeat. It was a sign of angelic movement. When angels begin rearranging your path, when heaven begins to accelerate your timeline, when the spiritual winds begin shifting in your favor, the enemy senses the momentum and tries to interfere. But what he underestimated was your resilience in your awakening. You are not who you use it to be. You no longer bow to fear the way you once did. You no longer crumble under pressure the way you used to. And this new strength within you has changed everything. Michael wants you to understand that the reason you have been sensing a shift, perhaps through unusual thoughts, sudden clarity, emotional heaviness followed by unexpected peace, dreams that felt symbolic or moments that felt spiritually charged, is because heaven has been communicating. The signals were divine reminders to stay alert. When your spirit felt stirred without explanation, it was because Michael was releasing warnings into your inner world. When you felt uneasy around certain decisions or people, it was projection. When you felt sudden insight about money or responsibility, it was direction from above. These sensations were not your imagination. They were heaven's way of speaking before manifestation arrived. Michael is showing you that the enemy attempted to influence your financial decisions by creating subtle emotional fog, not visible chaos, but soft confusion, not loud attacks, but gentle discouragement. The enemy hoped that small missteps made from fatigue or fear would open spiritual doors for him to touch what heaven was protecting. But every time he tried, Michael intervened. The shield held. The barrier remained. The attack dissolved before reaching your reality. But now comes the reason heaven is speaking with urgency. You are approaching a breakthrough that requires a heightened level of clarity. Heaven is preparing to release something into your life. Provision, opportunity, realignment, or restoration that must arrive in purity. It cannot be contaminated by confusion. It cannot be delayed by missteps. It cannot be interrupted by fear. And that is why you are being prepared so thoroughly. You are entering a season where your finances will begin to shift, not slowly, not subtly, but decisively. Divine connections may appear. Opportunities may open that seem tailor-made for you. Provision may come through unexpected channels. The places where you once felt strain may begin to loosen. But everything requires spiritual precision. Heaven needs you aligned. Heaven needs you aware. Heaven needs you steady. And Michael is standing as your guardian in this transition, ensuring that the enemy does not touch what heaven is releasing. He is showing you a truth that will anchor you firmly. The enemy cannot cross a barrier you choose to protect through obedience. Michael has held the enemy back. Now your sensitivity will keep that barrier strong. If you ignore the signals, decisions may become vulnerable. But if you honor them, the blessing will fall into your hands without interference. You have matured into someone who can carry this next season. That is why the revelation is coming now. Heaven would not speak at this depth if you were not ready. You are walking out of confusion and into clarity. You are walking out of spiritual pressure and into divine positioning. You are walking out of the enemy's reach and into Michael's guidance. You are stepping into a chapter where your finances will no longer be a battlefield, but a testimony. Let your spirit breathe, because the next revelation will expose exactly what is about to shift and how to remain under divine covering as it happens. Before we continue, help this message reach more souls who need the same clarity and protection. Like this message, comment your agreement. Subscribe so you never miss these prophetic revelations. And share this video with someone whose spirit needs this awakening. You are part of a mission bigger than yourself. Type, "I hold my position in the light," in the comments. If this truth has settled powerfully into your spirit, blessing code 877 is now released over your financial destiny. Just as Archangel Michael is standing between you and the enemy's plan, this mission stands between countless souls and the spiritual confusion trying to silence them. When you support this work, you are sowing into a move of God that reaches people exactly when they need His voice the most. Scripture speaks of rivers of living water flowing from those who believe, and your support becomes part of that river, carrying healing, clarity, and awakening to hearts around the world. Dear, this from my spirit to yours. I feel led to invite you to take your place in this divine assignment. When you give through Super Thanks membership with a PayPal link in the description, you are not donating. You are activating a prophetic seed that heaven uses to rescue another soul. I bless every giver with open heavens, divine protection, and supernatural provision. Step boldly. This is your moment to multiply light. My rising soul, the atmosphere around you is shifting again, and Archangel Michael is drawing you into a revelation that carries both urgency and empowerment. What you are stepping into now is the understanding of why the enemy's pressure against your finances became so fierce and why heaven has been preparing you with such intentional care. This is not a message of fear. This is a message of awakening. This part of the journey unveils what has been hidden behind the scenes. A truth that once revealed changes the way you see everything happening around you. Michael wants you to become fully aware of the magnitude of your calling. For a long time, you believed your financial struggle was simply a challenge you had to get through. You thought it was temporary hardship. You assumed it was just life happening to you. But Michael is revealing that the enemy's desperation came from something much greater. You were stepping into a version of yourself that the enemy hoped you would never discover. You were growing spiritually, emotionally, mentally. And the enemy saw the trajectory you were walking toward. Your financial life was one of the few areas he believed he could pressure enough to alter your path. But here is the truth. Heaven is speaking now. Your finances are connected to your assignment. They are not separate. They are not insignificant. They are not merely earthly tools. Your provision is tied to your purpose. Your ability to move is connected to heaven's plan for you. When God prepares to shift a person into a new level of influence, responsibility, or spiritual impact, the financial realm is often one of the first areas to experience warfare. Not because money is the goal, but because money controls movement and movement controls destiny. The enemy knew that if he could disrupt your financial confidence, he could disrupt your momentum. But what he did not expect was a resilience rising inside you. He did not expect you to keep believing when nothing made sense. He did not expect you to sense heaven's signals. He did not expect you to grow spiritually stronger through what was meant to weaken you. And because he underestimated you, heaven responded with even stronger protection through Archangel Michael. Michael is showing you something incredibly important. The enemy's pressure in your finances peaked at the exact moment heaven began preparing to open a new door for you. That door might be an opportunity, a connection, a shift, a new stream of income, or a restoration of something you once lost. The enemy sensed this before you did. He felt the vibrations of the breakthrough approaching your life. He recognized the spiritual alignment forming around you. And in desperation, he attempted to strike, but the shield held. And this brings us to a powerful truth. Your financial future is not in the enemy's hands. It is in heaven's hands. And heaven has not been silent. Heaven has been actively orchestrating the pieces of your next chapter. You might think nothing is moving, but in the spiritual realm, everything is moving. Michael is guiding you to recognize the patterns that were forming around you recently. Perhaps you felt random waves of discouragement. Perhaps you noticed your energy shifting without clear reason. Perhaps you saw opportunities that looked promising suddenly collapse. Perhaps you felt the urge to withdraw, rethink everything, or question your direction. These were not signs of collapse. They were signs of construction. Heaven was restructuring your path. Michael was blocking the wrong routes. Divine timing was protecting you from premature decisions. You must understand this deeply. When heaven delays something, it is because heaven is preparing something better. And when heaven blocks something, it is because heaven sees what you cannot. Every blocked opportunity, every closed door, every financial pause was part of a larger strategy. Heaven was safeguarding you from entanglements that would have drained you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Michael prevented you from stepping into agreements that would have slowed your destiny. What looked like loss was protection. What felt like delay was positioning. Now, Michael is bringing you to the truth that requires your full attention. The enemy was fighting for access, not victory. He was looking for one moment of misalignment, one fear-based choice, one rushed decision, one emotional impulse to weaken the barrier. But you held on long enough for heaven to secure your next phase. And now the shift truly begins. Your spirit has been awakening, because heaven has already begun releasing the first wave of your financial restoration. You may not see it with your eyes yet, but something has already changed in the atmosphere around you. Your discernment is stronger. Your confidence is rising. Your inner peace is returning. Your sense of direction is sharpening. This inner shift is the evidence that the outer shift is coming. Michael wants you to prepare emotionally and spiritually for a new flow, one where confusion lifts. Opportunities find you, and clarity becomes your guide. But you must continue to honor the signals. When your spirit feels unsettled about something financial, pause. When you feel peace about a direction, follow it. When something feels off, trust it. You are no longer functioning in guesswork. You are functioning in spiritual alignment. Heaven does not want you to simply survive financially. Heaven wants you to move, to build, to rise, to fulfill what you were created for. And the resources required for that journey are being prepared as we speak. Let this truth settle into you gently. The enemy fought your finances because heaven is going to use your finances as part of your assignment. And where heaven blesses, no enemy can block. Take a quiet breath. Allow this revelation to rest within you. The next phase will reveal what heaven is preparing to release and how you will step into it with power, clarity, and divine guidance. Type "I move with heaven's flow" in the comments if this message is awakening your spirit. Blessing code 911 is now released over your financial journey. I, ascending soul. There is a profound stirring in the heavens right now, and Archangel Michael is inviting you into a depth of understanding that marks a new spiritual maturity within you. You have walked through the early layers of the revelation, but this moment takes you into the heart of the matter. Why your finances were targeted so intensely, and what heaven is preparing to release into your life as a result of your endurance. This is not simply another message. This is a turning point. An unveiling of divine truth that has been protected until your spirit was ready to receive it without fear, confusion, or misinterpretation. Michael wants you to see something that has been hidden behind the veil of your experiences. You have been walking through a season of spiritual refinement, not punishment, not abandonment, refinement. And refinement always comes before release. Heaven was preparing your spirit to handle the divine realignment that is now unfolding. This is why certain things were allowed to fall apart. This is why certain patterns could no longer continue. This is why your emotions were stretched, your patience tested, and your faith deepened. Heaven was not destabilizing you. Heaven was strengthening your roots so that the blessing headed your way would not crush you. Michael is now showing you the core truth. The enemy targeted your finances because he could not touch your destiny. You grew beyond his reach in the areas he once controlled. You healed from wounds that once weakened you. You learned lessons that once confused you. You rose above patterns that once entangled you. And when the enemy saw that your destiny was secure, he turned his attention to the areas around your life that could still influence your direction. Your finances. He attacked the area you rely on to move, to build, to advance, to function in your purpose. But even there, heaven intervened. The reason you endured financial turbulence was not because you were losing favor. It was because you were gaining clarity. Heaven uses pressure to reveal what does not belong. Heaven uses tension to expose the false paths. Heaven uses shaking to separate what is temporary from what is eternal. What you lost was not meant to stay. What you could not hold was never aligned with your future. What you felt slipping was heaven removing what the enemy was trying to use as an access point. Now Michael is revealing the deeper truth. The enemy attempted to bind your finances through emotional influence, not spiritual authority. He tried to create a cloud around your thoughts. He attempted to make you see your finances through the lens of fear rather than through the lens of heaven. He tried to push you into decisions that would open spiritual doors. He tried to make you feel desperate enough to grab onto the wrong opportunities or trust the wrong voices. But your spirit resisted him, and your discernment became your shield. What the enemy did not anticipate was your awakening. You began to sense when something felt off. You recognized the heaviness that came out of nowhere. You noticed when certain opportunities no longer felt aligned. You saw through manipulations that once deceived you. You felt the pull of heaven guiding you in ways you never recognized before. And this inner sharpening weakened the enemy's influence more than you realize. Michael is guiding you closer now. He wants you to understand the spiritual dynamics surrounding your finances. Provision does not flow randomly. It flows according to alignment, obedience, and timing. The enemy attempted to disrupt all three, but because you endured, because you remained sensitive, because you listened to the signals, heaven is now preparing to restore and increase what the enemy tried to touch. The next change in your financial atmosphere will not be small. It will not be subtle. It will not be gradual. Something is approaching that carries divine weight, a financial shift that is connected to your assignment, your influence, your stability, and your future impact. Heaven have been aligning the pieces, quietly working behind the scenes, positioning people and opportunities in places you cannot yet see. And Michael's message is preparing your spirit to receive without fear and without hesitation. You must understand that the enemy did not fight you because you were weak. He fought you because you were becoming dangerous to him. People who rise in spiritual strength threaten darkness. People who grow in discernment become unmanipulable. People who recognize divine timing cannot be tricked into premature decisions. And you have become such a person. Michael is now wrapping a spiritual mantle around your shoulders. The mantle of clarity. You are entering a season where your decisions will carry power. Your instincts will be sharp, and your steps will be guided by divine insight. The confusion that once clouded your financial choices is lifting. The fog is dissolving. Heaven is giving you eyes to see and ears to hear. You may feel a sense of anticipation, a quiet confidence rising inside you. Even if your circumstances do not yet reflect change, that feeling is not false hope. It is spiritual reality. Your spirit has detected the shift before your environment shows it. Heaven always whispers before it manifests. And now, Michael prepares you for a truth that will empower your next steps. Your finances will soon reflect the strength of your spirit. The enemy was fighting to keep you in old patterns, but those patterns are breaking. The enemy tried to weaken your confidence, but your confidence is rising. The enemy attempted to shake your foundation, but heaven is solidifying it. Your financial future is not fragile. It is fortified. Let these words sink deeply into your heart. A new chapter is forming. A new flow is coming. A new season is being birthed. Michael is guiding you so that when the breakthrough arrives, you will know how to steward it with wisdom, clarity, and authority. Type "I receive the divine realignment" in the comments. If this message is stirring your spirit, blessing code 7. 733 is now activated over your financial path. My awakened vessel. There is a powerful quietness surrounding this moment. The kind of silence that is not empty, but filled with divine intention. Archangel Michael is drawing nearer, and the message unfolding now brings you into the highest layer of understanding. What you are about to receive is not surface-level revelation. It is the spiritual architecture behind everything you have walked through. This part is meant to settle into your soul like a foundation stone, something immovable and eternal, something that will guide you long after this message ends. Michael wants you to see your journey from heaven's viewpoint. You have not simply been experiencing financial tension. You have been moving through a spiritual transformation that required stripping, revealing, strengthening, and rebuilding. What you perceived as attacks were often recalibrations. What you interpreted as delays were divine protections. What felt like financial instability was actually heaven removing what could not support your next season. The path has been narrow because the destination is significant. There is something you must understand deeply. You outgrew the environment that once sustained you spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and even financially. You shifted beyond what could hold you. And whenever a person outgrows their environment, the spiritual realm reacts. Heaven begins to close the doors that no longer align with the future God has ordained for you. Meanwhile, the enemy tries to hold those same doors open, hoping you will walk back into old patterns that keep you small, uncertain, or dependent. This is why the past season felt like a tug of war. Heaven was pulling you forward. Darkness was pulling you backward. And in the middle of that tension stood Archangel Michael, guarding the boundary between where you have been and where you are going. He did not let the enemy pull you back. He did not let old traps seduce you again. He did not let familiar patterns reattach themselves to your life. You may not have realized it, but you were being escorted out of an old season and into a completely new identity. Michael is showing you now that the enemy's pressure on your finances intensified because your spirit was graduating. When a person steps into spiritual maturity, the enemy loses influence. When a person becomes aware of divine timing, deception loses power. When a person becomes sensitive to heaven's guidance, manipulation fails. And because the enemy could no longer access your mind the way he once did, he attempted to pressure your finances, hoping it would trigger emotional instability. But what he did not anticipate was your awakening. You began to interpret the signs correctly. You started sensing divine warnings. You recognized when something was spiritually off. You noticed when your emotions were being tested. You paid attention to the inner voices and signals heaven sent. And this awareness formed a spiritual shield around you. A shield strengthened by Archangel Michael's presence. You must understand that the enemy's greatest weapon is not force, it is influence. He cannot destroy a heaven as protected. He cannot override divine authority. He cannot touch what Michael guards. So he tries to influence your perceptions. He tries to twist your interpretations. He tries to make you believe you are unprotected when you are actually surrounded. But heaven is breaking that illusion now. Heaven is showing you the truth behind the curtain. Michael is revealing something powerful about the next chapter of your life. Your finances are being repositioned for purpose, not luxury. Heaven is aligning resources with your assignment. This means the shift coming your way is not random. It is targeted, intentional, and precise. It is not simply a financial blessing, it is a spiritual realignment that brings clarity to your responsibilities, your opportunities, and your future influence. Heaven is preparing to move you from reaction to direction, from worry to wisdom, from instability to strategy. And for the first time in a long time, you will feel empowered rather than pressured, confident rather than confused, clear rather than clouded. Michael wants you to notice the emotional growth you have gained in this journey. You no longer panic at delays. You no longer crumble under unexpected financial curveballs. You no longer interpret difficulty as defeat. You have developed spiritual stamina, and heaven has taken notice. This inner growth is the very reason the enemy's attack could not break you. Strength always reveals itself not during victory but during pressure. And your strength has been undeniable. Now Michael is preparing you for a deeper truth. The spiritual turbulence you felt recently was not the enemy gaining power, it was the enemy losing access. The shaking you experienced was not destruction. It was separation. Separation from old habits. Separation from old mindsets. Separation from old attachments. Separation from old spiritual vulnerabilities. Heaven have been severing ties the enemy once used against you, and that severing created discomfort before creating clarity. You are now in a spiritual space where heaven can trust you with more responsibility, more opportunity, more clarity, more prevail. Heaven does not elevate the unprepared. Heaven promotes the awakened, and you have awakened. Michael wants you to know that the coming shift will require confidence, not arrogance, not fearlessness, not perfection. Confidence in what heaven has spoken over you. When opportunities arrive, do not shrink. When blessings come, do not question whether you deserve them. When financial shifts unfold, do not doubt whether they are real. You have paid the price of preparation. You have endured seasons that broke weaker souls. You have persisted through attacks meant to destroy your stability. You have responded with faith even when you did not have answers. Heaven is not releasing blessings as a reward. Heaven is releasing blessings because you are positioned to use them wisely. Take this truth into your heart. The enemy fought your finances not because you were vulnerable, but because you were becoming unstoppable. Let your spirit rest in this revelation. The next part will take you into the culmination of everything heaven has prepared for you. What is coming? How to receive it? And how Archangel Michael will continue to guide you through the final shift. Type "I rise in divine confidence" in the comments. If this message has anchored deeply within you, blessing, code 844 is now activated over your financial destiny. My chosen spirit. The atmosphere surrounding you right now is unlike anything that came before it. Archangel Michael stands fully present, not as a distant guardian, but as a mighty spiritual warrior delivering the final piece of this divine message. This is the culmination, the moment where heaven's layered revelations come together, the moment where clarity rises like dawn after a long and heavy night. You have walked through depths most never touch. You have endured battles most never notice. You have listened, learned, awakened, and shifted. And now Michael brings you into the final understanding, the truth behind the signal, the meaning of your journey, and the guidance for your next step. Michael wants you to see the landscape of your life from heaven's perspective. You have been moving through a sacred transition, a crossing from one spiritual state into another. This transition required protection, instruction, and preparation, because the shift in your finances is not simply about money. It is about destiny. Heaven has been rearranging your steps, renewing your discernment, strengthening your inner voice, and realigning your purpose. Every moment of pressure, confusion, or heaviness was not a sign of collapse, but a sign of spiritual construction. You must understand just how close the enemy came to influencing a decision that would have weakened you, not destroyed you, not overtaken you, not shattered your future, but weakened your clarity long enough to delay your advancement. The enemy was never after your house, your income, or your comfort. He was after the timing of your breakthrough. If he could slow the timing, he could slow the purpose attached to it. But the barrier held. Michael's sword remained steady. Heaven refused to let the enemy's hand reach your financial foundation. What you felt as resistance was really Michael's shield absorbing impacts meant for you. What you felt as confusion was heaven blocking wrong directions. What you felt as emotional weight was your spirit being sharpened. These signals were not warnings of danger. They were invitations to awareness. Michael is revealing that the reason this moment carries such divine heaviness is because your financial elevation is now entering manifestation. Not theory, not expectation. Manifestation. Something has already shifted in the spiritual dimension around your life. It is subtle enough that your eyes cannot yet see it, but powerful enough that your spirit has already sensed it. You felt the peace rising. You felt the clarity deepening. You felt the heaviness lifting. You felt the quiet confidence settling into your chest. These sensations are the first signs that the divine release has already begun. Heaven is preparing to do something that does not align with your past limitations. You are stepping into opportunities that once felt impossible. You are stepping into provision that once felt distant. You are stepping into relationships, connections, and pathways that heaven shielded until your discernment was mature enough to recognize what is holy and what is harmful. Michael is making one thing unmistakably clear. The enemy's influence over your finances has been fully severed, not weakened, not minimized, severed. The spiritual access point he once tried to use hath been closed permanently. You have walked through a process that purified your discernment, strengthened your intuition, and elevated your spiritual posture. You are no longer the same person who entered this battle. You hear differently. You interpret differently. You move differently. You choose differently. And because of that, the enemy no longer recognizes a way to reach you. This is why heaven is now opening doors that were once closed. This is why opportunities that dried up are returning. This is why your creativity is rising. Your focus is sharpening and your hope is stabilizing. You are being positioned for divine stewardship. Heaven is placing resources into hands that have been refined, not pampered, to strengthened, not spoiled, wakened, not passive. Michael is giving you one final instruction. Remain spiritually alert, not fearful, not tense, not anxious. Alert. Your awareness is your safeguard. Your discernment is your shield. Your alignment is your authority. The barrier around your finances remains strong as long as your spirit remains attentive. When you feel the subtle pull of caution, honor it. When you feel the gentle push of peace, follow it. When you sense a divine warning, listen. When opportunities arise, test their spirit. You are stepping into a phase where blessing and responsibility walk hand in hand. Heaven trusts you with more now because you have proven your heart can carry it. The financial shift coming toward you will not overwhelm you. It will empower you. It will strengthen your purpose. It will expand your reach. It will elevate your stability. It will open doors meant for the version of you that now stands awakened. Michael is also showing you something profound. This shift is not only for you, it is for the lives you will impact, the people you will support, the responsibilities you will fulfill, the spiritual work you are called to do. What heaven releases to you is meant to flow through you. That is why the enemy fought so hard. You are becoming a vessel of divine influence. And once you recognize your power, darkness loses its hold. Now, let your heart absorb this final truth. You are safe. You are covered. You are protected. You are seen. You are guided. And you are ready. Archangel Michael has not only held back the enemy's hand, he has cleared the path for your future. Let this revelation root itself within you. Let peace fill the spaces that once held doubt. Let confidence rise where confusion once lived. You have crossed into a new realm of spiritual authority, and your finances will now reflect the breakthrough heaven has already sealed. Take this moment fully into your spirit. Like, share, comment. Speak life into this message and subscribe for more prophetic revelations. Let your engagement become part of the spiritual atmosphere that carries this message to others who need it. Type "I step into my divine release" in the comments if this message has gripped your spirit. Blessing code 10000 is now released over your financial destiny. As you receive this final revelation, hear this with your spirit wide open. The same way Archangel Michael has stood between you and the enemy's plans, this mission stands in the gap for souls who desperately need the light of God's voice. Your support becomes a divine act of warfare, sowing into the spread of truth, protection, and awakening. The word declares that those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed, and that promise is alive right now. I feel led to speak this from my heart to yours. Step into this holy moment with intentional faith. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, your seed becomes a prophetic echo, breaking chains, opening eyes, and lifting burdens off others. I bless every giver with overflow, with divine alignment, and with supernatural covering. Do not hesitate. Move with heaven's timing and let your support become part of this sacred mantle.